Well, hello, my YouTube friends. So I'm going to install this garage door opener. I've never had one. I'm going to do it myself. It can't be that hard. All right. Well, this is getting ridiculous, and I'm going to show you the step I missed. And so the instructions were very detailed and very thorough. And I just started on page 1 and just one page by page went through all the steps. You can see the diagrams are almost like photographs. They're like exactly how the hardware looks. So I was able to look at the diagrams, read the instructions, picture how it's done, assemble it correctly. So, step 1. Although in my case, I did skip ahead to hanging the bracket on the header above the garage door. You can see the diagrams are like real nice. So I'm moving along, and so it shows you, assembling the rod, attaching the rod to the motor. Okay, so now that's step 6, install the sprocket cover. Now for installation, that was assembly. Installation, determine the header bracket location. I did that already, got that in place. Okay, that was simple, and it shows 4 different types of garage doors. Mine is right here because it has that type of bracketry and the really long spring. If I can focus, is it focused? Right, so that's what my garage door looks like. And you can see that the highest point of travel, the header bracket should be 8 inches above the highest point of travel. Okay, if you have one of these sectional doors, it should only be 2 inches above. If you have a door with a different kind of, the door is in a track across the top, only 2 inches. If you have a door with a pivot point, again, 8 inches above the highest point of travel. So, okay, I did exactly that. And then it shows you next installing the bracket above or on the header, right? Install the header bracket. Okay, I did that. I was going to go through, I'll show you everything that I had to overcome to get that installed. And then next up, attach the rail to the header bracket. So there's the assembled opener, and you attach it to the header bracket, right? And you got a little support for it. Then, position the garage door opener. Okay, so I skipped over this part. Somehow I missed it. And you can see right here, they show it on a ladder. Now what I did, I hung it from a chain. Okay, but I didn't see the significance of this part, right, of this instruction right here. And you can see that they're showing the door open with a 2x4 laying across the top of it in its open position. Okay, one piece door without tracks, that's me. The 2x4 should be, on end, and then all other types on its side. And that's your gap between the door open and the rail or the rod. Okay, my mistake, I missed this somehow, and I just installed it so that the rod was level. Okay, and then it didn't work properly. And let's see here, when it came time, I got everything in place, and then it came time to hook it up. All right, I got all the power in place, and then I started looking at this. Now if you look at this image, it shows that the rod is angling down a little bit. Okay, that's a one-piece door without track. That's my door right there, as it were. Okay, make this rod assembly as long as possible. Okay, here's a one-piece door with track. But you'll notice this is kind of angling down right there. And I did not read the whole instruction manual through to begin with. I just went page to page. And then finally at the last assembly instruction, Where is it? And I did all this. I got everything installed, all the wiring, all the sensors. Now it's showing adjustments. So one piece door only. And again, you can see that the rod is angling down. And so it's telling me that the door can't be perfectly flat. It has to angle up a little bit to help it out when it closes. Right? And again, it's showing that angle. And I'm like, okay, that's not what mine was doing, because I missed the part about laying the 2x4 on the top of the garage door. And so mine's flat right here, and so this was like way too high, and it didn't work right. So I'm going to show you now. I'm going to show you now how ridiculous this is, and I'm going to have to lower the header bracket, that 8-inch clearance that I showed you earlier. Okay, so after I removed all the bracketry, and look, I got all the bracketry up there. There's all the wiring. Put that 2x4 in right there to support it. There's the little angle iron things that they supplied. Now that chain is supporting the motor, and the motor is like way down here. Okay, I can literally like walk over to it. I'm holding it now right in front of my face. I can literally like walk up to it and install the, right, it's, yeah, I'm taller than the motor. Okay, now look at the angle that this thing's at. Look at, right, angling all, there's the 2x4. I'm still not touching it, but I'm close. If you stand back, like right there's, so I'm gonna have to lower the bracket, the header bracket, and raise this to try to get an optimal angle, because this is, it's funny, but it's not funny. There's like, this, it's just not working right. So something to consider. All right, my friends. And I know you guys believe me, but I'm just showing you this as an example of how ridiculous this is getting. So there's my foot, there's the garage floor, right? It's at the floor, and this measuring tape .67, so 5 feet 7 inches, 5 feet 8 right there. If I'm going to have the if I'm going to use the 2x4 method. So yeah, okay. Okay, so I lowered the header bracket almost a full 10 inches, and I raised the motor assembly. Now this is the diagram that I'm trying to duplicate, if it'll focus. Okay, and you can see that the garage door is angling up and the rod is angling down. And so if you look right here, can't really tell. Let me zoom out. So if you look at the bottom, like right here, the garage door is angling down, and then the rod, if you look at the joist, it's angling up slightly. And the push rod, if you look like right here, it's angling up slightly. And that tape right there is about where the door will stop if it has the angle, you know, in like that's showing in the diagram. And so I tested it. All I did was came around here, so I have it loose. I just pushed on it. And it worked pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see if it can open. Well, the motor's going to have to open it. But I'm going to go ahead and screw the header bracket back into place. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to brace the motor assembly. You can see I got that chain holding it right now. And it's down a lot farther than it was. But it won't hit the car. I got to make sure it won't hit the car. So Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I got everything bolted in place, wired up and everything. I still have to tidy up the wires. They're hanging loose all over. You can see those extended brackets I had to use. Actually cut up a steel shelf out of a steel cabinet that I had that was extra. And so that's solid. That ain't going nowhere. Now, like I showed you a minute ago, the angle of that rod and the angle of the door, so they are as recommended. And the rod, the connecting rod, whatever, like, you know, this one's called right there. So let's see how it works. And steel clearance, you saw right there, it did not hit the rod. And you see how it pushed up right there? So I'm going to adjust the closing position, the stop position, so it doesn't do that because it's under tension right now. Now, the problem, the company recommended that the mounting position of this bracket, okay, that this edge right here be 8 inches above the highest point of travel of the door during its opening arc, which is right here. And so 8 inches above, placed it way up here. You can see like that line right there. And then that created a whole host of other problems. That's why I had to mount it to a plate and then screw the plate to the wall. And then, but that didn't work as I showed you previously. So now I ended up only mounting it 3 inches. Right, there's the chalk mark, if you can kind of tell, or the chalk mark, the pencil mark. So instead of 8 inches above, I'm only 3 inches above. That recommended 8 inches. There's like no way that's going to work. I don't know how they came up with that number. But a few little minor, you know, tidy up things for the wiring. You know, I don't like the wiring hanging all loose like that. But it works. It's in place. The old lady can park the car in the garage without getting out. You know, it makes it a lot more convenient. So we're going to go ahead and go to the verse of the day. And for that, we're going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 22. And I'm going to get nice and close. We're going to start with 22, verse 35. Let me zoom in. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, and saying, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. All right, my friends, you have a good day.